Hello everybody, welcome to Discrete Mathematics for Computing, and this is your professor, Professor Bob. Hope everyone is doing just wonderful and peachy. Now a few things to start out this class and this week. We're going to turn the page a little bit and start to talk about some more advanced features or some more advanced topics of discrete mathematics for computing. What we're going to do over the next couple weeks is we're going to start diving into the wonderful world of probability theory. Now that sounds a little daunting, especially at your level in your college career, especially with taking math. But I'm going to make it easy on you, I promise you. It's not going to be that difficult. So what I did is I broke it down into 3 different weeks or so, which is going to take the place of around 6 different lectures. But as you guys probably know, at this point, the number of lectures is almost moot because we're all taking this class remotely anyway. So let me break this down to you, for you. Pardon me. What we're going to do this week is I'm going to talk about descriptive mathematics. Now, next week, in our class next week, I'm going to talk about predictive mathematics. And then I'm going to tie it all together and talk about descriptive mathematical modeling and then predictive mathematical modeling. Now, hopefully you're all still there. I haven't lost any of you. I promise you, this stuff is pretty cool and it's not that hard to understand. So anyway, I posted an assignment for you. It's assignment number 3. And it is due on February 27th. Don't panic, you didn't miss anything. You're probably thinking, if you've been looking at the assignments, what happened to February 21st? We skipped that. Remember, we have 10 assignments over the period of like 16 or so weeks. So we're not going to have an assignment due every week. So when you look at the assignment and you see that it's due on the 27th, don't panic, you haven't missed anything. It's just that this topic is going to take a couple weeks to cover. So that's that as far as your assignment goes. So let me kind of talk about a little bit and abstract and put a kind of a frame around what we're going to do this week with descriptive mathematics. Now, descriptive mathematics is really basically putting together mathematical models of things that you have already observed. Now, what does that mean? That sounds all mathy on you. Now, observations is a very, very important mathematical term that just means, in plain old English, something that we've experienced and we've measured. For example, you've done this all the time. When you drive to work or you drive to a friend's house, you can measure exactly how long it's taken in minutes. It takes me 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or what have you. So if I asked you, I said, what I want you to do is I want you to look at all the times you've driven to work this month, 20 or 30 or 5 or whatever times, and I want you to give me the average time it takes you to drive to work. What you would do is you would look at how many times you drove to work and you would measure them. It takes me 5 minutes, 8 minutes, if you live close, 4 minutes, 15 minutes, or whatever. Those are called observations. So if I asked you to give me the average time it took you to get to work, what you would do is you would take all those observations, you would add them up, which is called summing, or in mathematical terms, we use the term sigma, and you're going to see that in a second, and then you divide it by the number of observations. And then you get what's called a mathematical mean. Now, this is something that you've done since you've probably been 4 years old. So what I'm trying to explain to you is you've already done descriptive modeling in your head. You've already done it. If when you were 8 years old, if someone asked you the average time it took you to go to baseball practice or soccer practice or cello practice, you probably would be able to figure that out because as human beings, we're all wired to do math. So this isn't something that comes unnatural to us. So what I'm going to do is over the next couple weeks or so, or starting this week, is I'm going to expand on that natural ability that you already have. of putting together what are called descriptive mathematical models. Now, we're going to start simple, like what I just mentioned here. We're going to start with what's called an arithmetic or what's called a statistical mean, or you and I call it an average. And we're going to start with that because we know how that kind of works. And then we're going to get a little bit more complicated, and we're going to be building out more complex descriptive models a little at a time until we get to be pretty good at this. Now, once we do that, we're going to go into next week where we're going to be putting together what are called predictive models. And I'm a little ahead of myself, but all that means is we can take our descriptive models and then make predictions off of them. For example, if I asked you to write down how many minutes it takes to get to work this month, you would write down, all of your minutes and or your observations, and then you would give me a mean. You would say, on average, it takes me 14 minutes and 18 seconds to get to work. Now, next week, I'm going to say, okay, great. Now, knowing that, or knowing what a descriptive model looks like, I want you to make a prediction. So I'll say, how long will it take you to drive to work tomorrow? And you might say, well, based on my past observations, it'll take me 14 minutes and some seconds. So believe it or not, that is putting together a predictive model. Now, of course, it's a little bit more complicated than this, but the concepts are exactly the same. You already know how to write descriptive models. You already know how to write predictive models. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw all these cool mathematical symbols at you, and I'm going to get a little bit more complicated, and I'm going to be building out and asking us together as a class to be building out more complex descriptive and predictive models. And we're going to be doing some fun other stuff like putting together what's called confidence and error margins. And I will say in English, I'll say, like, for example, how long will it take you to drive to work tomorrow? And then you'll say 14 minutes and 18 seconds. And I'll say, well, what are you basing that on? And you'll say, I'm basing that on my descriptive model of how long it's taking me to drive to work. And I'll say things like, are you sure? And that's called confidence. So you could say, based on these models with so much probability, I can tell you that with confidence, my confidence is 80% within 5 minutes either way, or something like this. So anyway, this whole unit is going to take about 3 weeks or so. But then again, like I said, it's almost a moot point because we're taking it remotely anyway. But that's really the unit in a nutshell of doing predictive modeling. Is first we're going to be writing descriptive models. Then we're going to be writing predictive models, and then we're going to kind of go into writing the algorithms for this. Now, this is important stuff, especially for you guys and gals just getting into this, because you're all, either freshmen or sophomores, and by definition, you're not really sure about this. How is this going to fit into my career? If you go into informatics or if you go into mathematics in any sort of field, these are valuable skills. You could work with these skills. You could work in the field of pharmaceuticals, where you're doing drug trials and writing mathematical models to make predictions based on the effectiveness of a drug to treat a certain illness. Or if you're going into insurance, you could write predictive models to determine the probability of someone getting in an accident that's going to cost your insurance company millions and millions of dollars or whatever, so you can adjust insurance rates. So predictive modeling is everywhere. It really is. So if you're thinking about exactly where this is going to fit into any kind of career choices, I'll be covering that kind of as we go. And again, I'd like to encourage you guys to reach out to me if you have any questions about this, because this is really cool stuff to me. This is stuff that I do for a living, and it's things that I really think is valuable. It's not just textbook stuff. And that's one of the things I'm going to try to get through to you over the next 14 weeks or so, is these things that we're doing aren't just things that the school or any school says that you need to do this. You really do. This knowledge is useful, and it is lucrative. People with these skills do pretty well professionally, writing these specific models. I mean, not everyone uses that language, and you don't go into your workplace with a textbook and speak in academic terms, but basically the profession is still there. So do your reading. If you're listening to this, you already know where your links are. Go through your links. Start on your assignment. Your assignment is due the 27th of February. Work on it in little bite-sized chunks. Our assignments are getting a little bit more complicated, and that's all I have for you for now. So thank you for making it this far, and I hope you're safe and wonderful and having a great time with your loved ones. And if you're not having a great time with your loved ones, try to have a great time with your loved ones. And I bid you all a very well rest of the day. Thank you.